Every challenge starts with a goal and a desire. A desire to improve, evolve, and conquer. To face these challenges and turn them into achievements. It's through this passion, determination, and strong spirit that has allowed us to stay at the top for over 135 years. Glenfiddich, the top is only the beginning.
Glenfiddich's 12-year-old single malt Scotch whisky is one of the best-selling whiskies worldwide. But what does 12-year-old single malt Scotch whisky actually mean? Well, we can break this down into 4 parts. Number 1. If a whisky claims to be 12 years old, that means that the youngest whisky in the bottle is at least 12 years old. The older the whisky, the more complex the taste, the rarer the product, and the more valuable the whisky. Number 2. Single. Single basically means that the whisky is from one single individual distillery. This will create a whisky that has its own unique taste and character. This comes down to several factors like the cut, the size of the stills, the types of condensers, the style, and the length of fermentation. In Glenfiddich's case, their distillery is located in the heart of Speyside in a town called Dufftown. Number 3. Malt. Malt means that the product was only made by 100% barley, and that no extra grains or maize were used to make the product. And finally, number 4. Scotch. Scotch just means that the whisky was made in Scotland. For more information about Glenfiddich, visit their website at glenfiddich.com.
I'm going to tell you 6 facts about Scotland's #1 single malt whisky in 60 seconds. Number 1. Glenfiddich shares the same birthday with Isaac Newton, Annie Lennox and Jesus Christ, after the first drop of spirit fell from the copper stills on Christmas Day in 1887. Number 2. Building the distillery was a DIY family affair. William Grant hand-built the distillery with the help of his 7 sons, 2 daughters and a single stonemason back in 1886. Number 3. Glenfiddich translates in Gaelic to Valley of the Deer. Number 4. The distillery still maintains its family values. Glenfiddich is currently run by the 5th generation of the Grant Gordon family and is one of the only Scottish distilleries to remain entirely family owned and operated. Number 5. The distillery beat prohibition. During the 1920s, just 6 Scottish distilleries remained fully operational. One of them was Glenfiddich. And number 6. The triangular bottle shape was created by Hans Schlegel, who also designed the London Transport bus stop sign and British World War II propaganda posters. For more information about Glenfiddich, visit glenfiddich.com.
Hello, I'm Ben Will. I'm in 2nd year studying media at RGU, and this is the critical commentary for my digital filmmaking module. The task in hand was to create 3 films for digital for any brand of our choice. My brand that I chose was Glenfiddich, and the 3 films that I chose were a promotional video, a vlog, and typography. The aims of the project were to create 3 films that showed the brand's ethos, specifically around Scottish heritage, Scottish nature, the fact that they've remained dominant atop of a really tough competition for over 100 years, and how it's family owned and operated. I wanted to create a fun animation that would inform and educate the viewer through the typography, and I also wanted to create a vlog that basically dissected the meaning of 12-year-old single malt Scotch whisky and hoped that it would indicate how wide a variety of whiskies are actually available. So the creative choices that I chose for the promotional video was a man who just walked up a Scottish hill in the countryside. This was to symbolise Glenfiddich's achievement of success and hard work, and also to relate to the Scottish heritage side of the brand ethos. A vlog to discuss the layers and of the meaning 12-year-old single malt Scotch whisky, and typography just as a fun way to learn information about the brand. I landed on the choices that I made because Glenfiddich is a Scottish product. I live in Scotland. I knew it would make sense to film at a beautiful location somewhere in Scotland. I was originally going to do testimonials, however I felt like I could get more information included through a vlog and typography. And I also wanted to learn how to create typography animations because I'd never done that before. Things that went well, I got some really beautiful shots filming the promotional video. My friend George was really good to collaborate with. He's done a lot of media in the past, so I knew he'd be keen to help. And one thing I didn't expect, which I was glad that happened, was when I was filming with George, he had a lot of good ideas for things we could film. He was really motivated. He was getting involved. He was keen. He was really helpful, and I was very lucky to have a friend who was willing to walk up a hill when it was absolutely pouring with rain, it was freezing cold, and it was first thing in the morning as well. There's not a lot of folk that would do that for me, so I'm glad that George was in my corner there. Premiere Pro was easy to use. I've used it before, filming a documentary last semester. I never had any problems with Premiere Pro whatsoever. Some things that went bad. When I filmed the promotional video, I'd driven from Aberdeen all the way down to Glasgow first thing in the morning. I hadn't had time to eat. We walked up the hill, my energy levels are really low. I rushed through quite a lot of things because the combination of low energy levels and bad weather led to me having quite some shaky shots, particularly the end shot, which I tried to fix in Pro, but it just made it look a bit grainy, so I just left it like that. That was one of the things that annoyed me the most. I had some technical errors with After Effects. For some reason my film wasn't exporting. I tested it beforehand. I tested how to export the film beforehand because I knew it'd be quite rushed for time at the end, and the test went fine, but for some reason, I don't know what I did differently, it just wasn't exporting properly. It took a lot of trial and error, and I finally managed to get it fixed somehow. I'm not really sure how, but yeah, the technical errors from typography was a real stressful point for me. Another thing that went bad for me was the fact that I had a very busy schedule this year. Trying to cram all of my weekly tasks and goals in a week was not possible sometimes. I also work part-time, so having to fit my schedule around that was a real challenge for me. The reason I picked Glenfiddich, the first reason, very simply, I love Glenfiddich. I'm a big whiskey fan myself. I also find it very interesting how one distillery from Dufftown can have such a global impact. I think the history is amazing, specifically how Glenfiddich is still family owned after over 100 years. They're in their fifth generation now, and it still dominates over all the other Scottish whiskies that are out there. Some things I've learned from this project. Number one, I already knew, was expect the unexpected. I always run into problems when I have projects like this, but for some reason this year, the frequency of problems just rapidly increased. Test software is out earlier on. I'd never used After Effects before, and I feel like if I sort of practiced at it a bit earlier on, I probably could have got more out of it. So I think next time, if I'm using new software, I'll be giving it a trial and run beforehand. Keep well fed when you're filming. I was not enjoying being up that hill after driving from Aberdeen and not getting any rest and not eating any food. I just didn't think that part out, but I'll know that next time when I'm filming in locations. One thing I wanted to do, but for some reason I didn't, was to book out camera equipment. To be honest, I think I'm a bit intimidated by all the buttons and settings that you get on them, whereas my iPhone's just so much easier to use. Next project, I think I will book out cameras, learn how to use them, and take full advantage of them because it's a good opportunity.